February 16, 2022, Williamsburg Planning Commission meeting to order. Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Kale?
Here.
Mr. Tarley?
Here.
Mr. Boswell?
Here.
Mr. Granger?
Here.
Mr. Sokolowski? Ms. Liebel?
Thank you, and congratulations to Mr. Hamilton on your appointment, and welcome to the commission.
Thank you.
Our first agenda item is the approval of minutes. We have regular minutes from our January 19 meeting and our CIP work session on January 26th. I know there were some edits that were emailed in. Does anybody have any further edits to make? Hearing none, can we have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes for the January 19th regular meeting.
Second. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is an open forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on any matters that...
I'm sorry, can I just clarify, was the motion for both sets of minutes?
I didn't, but I will amend my motion to for approval for both the January 19th and the January 26th CIP work session.
Revote?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that was an amended motion.
Second.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kale?
Aye.
Mr. Tarley?
Aye.
Mr. Boswell?
Aye.
Mr. Granger?
Aye.
Ms. Liebel? Aye.
Okay, after those votes, we'll move on to the open forum, which is the opportunity for members of the public or city council to address the commission on matters that are within the scope of our activity. Feel free to come forward. And seeing nobody coming forward, I will close that open forum and move on to consent agenda items. We have one item, SPR 21-015. Consent agenda items mean that there's not typically going to be a presentation or a discussion unless a member of the commission wants to remove the item from the consent agenda. Does anybody want to remove it from the consent agenda? Seeing no interest in doing that, can we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve SPR number 21-015.
Second.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kale?
Aye.
Mr. Tarley?
Aye.
Mr. Boswell?
Aye.
Mr. Granger?
Aye.
Ms. Liebel? Aye.
Thank you. We have two public hearings on our agenda today. The first is PCR 22-001. Aaron, are you going to give us a presentation on this?
This application, good afternoon. This application on behalf of Tidal Wave Auto Spa has been recommended for tabling. The applicants have not completed their ARB application at this time.
Okay, since it was advertised, I do want to give everyone the opportunity to ask questions of Aaron.
And I can briefly explain to you the advertising process. So the way the calendar fell this year, or this month, the advertisement actually had to be published before the ARB deadline. We anticipated the applicants providing their information in time for the ARB deadline, which would have allowed for staff recommendations to move forward. They did not make that deadline. So while we advertised the public hearing, the applicant had requested that we table it, and staff had supported that request. I consulted with the city attorney regarding that request, and the best, I think, course of action is if the commission chooses to table the application, we would re-advertise that for a new public hearing at next month's meeting.
Okay, since it was advertised, I do want
Certainly.
to make sure we go through that regular process, open the public forum, give anyone the opportunity to address the commission on that. Seeing no one addressing the commission, I'm going to close that public comment and ask members of the commission if they have comments. I know this has been to site plan, and I believe there's some information from site plan on this.
Certainly, I can go over that information for you. So the application came through on behalf of Sheree Hari of Virginia LLC to construct a new Tidal Wave Auto Spa. It's a drive-through car wash with a self-serve vacuum station on staff parking located at 1800 Richmond Road. If you've been out in the area of the Home Depot in York County recently, it is the same company and the same type of service. There is also a similar service that was established on Bypass Road in York County. The applicant, this is a special use permit as it's located in the B2 corridor commercial area and is a required special use permit for car washes. The district is established to provide locations on heavily traveled collector and arterial highways for those commercial and service uses primarily oriented toward the automobile. This district is applied to those streets primarily used in to access local shopping areas and provide locations for existing and future hotels, restaurants, and other tourism retail uses. The properties to the west of this are zoned single-family and multifamily dwelling. The properties to the east are located in York County and are zoned general business. The Site Plan Review Committee met on January 19th to review the site. The committee expressed concerns about the siting and what the view would be like along Richmond Road. It discussed similar businesses nearby and the viability of this facility in relation to those businesses. The committee also indicated that there were some potential issues with the grade at the entrance to the site and had questions about public restrooms. The applicant's representative indicated that the entrance would be regraded to address those concerns and that there would not be public restrooms on site. The applicant also indicated they had considered siting the car wash facilities to the back of the property but wanted the visibility on Richmond Road. They had provided an updated rendering that Site Plan Review Committee had not seen that reflected what the proposed use would look like on Richmond Road, and that was included in the commission's packets. I'm available if you have any questions. The applicant is not present today.
I believe some members of the Site Plan Committee had something to say about the...
Well, yeah, and I don't have any problem with, you know, if we move forward with tabling it at some point in time, but I did want to express some questions that I have regarding this proposal and give the applicant an opportunity to prepare for that. I think maybe Mr. Granger will talk more about citing in the site plan. My concern has to do with, you know, this is a special use permit and has nothing to do with the applicant. They built a successful business and a site out in York County near the hospital. Seems to fit in well with that area. But with respect to a special use permit, one of the criteria is that the proposed use is in harmony with the character of adjacent properties and the surrounding neighborhoods and with the existing and proposed development. And I think that's a high bar for this particular parcel. And so it's not about the applicant, but about this use on this property at this time. And so those are the kind of the issues that I will want to see addressed the applicant is present.
Okay.
I agree with that completely. I would hope that the alternate layout is presented as well. I have a lot of concerns about the visibility on Richmond Road, it being so forward and just exceptionally visible instead of making it as beautiful as possible for our community, because this is something we're going to have to see presumably for the next 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, we're not making decisions that'll last for 2 or 3 years, and I'm confident that the business hopes that it'll be around for more than 2 or 3 years. So it's a long-term decision, which is why we have things like Planning Commission. So situating it as best as possible for the beauty of our community is important, especially on this corridor. I also wonder about the enhancement to our community. We're a community where we strive to encourage visitors and guests to come and enjoy the uniqueness of our community, and I don't know that we want to be known as the car wash capital of Colonial Williamsburg. We should hopefully find and encourage businesses to locate that are unique and draw more people to our community and really benefit the folks who live here. So those are some of the concerns I have. I know there are 2 car washes in the city limits on 2nd Street. And then most people wouldn't recognize that the others on Richmond Road may not be in the city, but they're our neighbors. And working as a community, I think, is important, and being considerate of that. So that's something that wanders through my mind, and I worry about slicing the pie too thin so that you got nothing but crumbs left. And the biggest concern is it truly an asset to our community and a business that our community will find beneficial and in keeping with the character that we've worked so hard to develop.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Aaron, were there any comments so far via email?
I have not received any comments directly. There was a phone call inquiry to the city manager's office regarding the application, but I was not part of that conversation. They just wanted to know where it was going to be located and what it would look like.
Okay, so the status of this now then is it will go to the ARB. Is it on their next agenda?
Yes, we received their application, and it is slated to go to their meeting next Tuesday.
Okay, so next Tuesday. So then presumably, if we table it today, it'll be back on our agenda. I see it's already on the
Yes.
on the foreshadowing agenda. Okay. Any other comments, discussion?
Yeah,
Yes,
I have
Marcy?
a comment. As a member of the ARB, I am interested in what the aesthetics are going to be from the street, which I understand you gentlemen were concerned about in the last meeting, because it's really easy to have the sort of snapshot of the ideal Tidal Wave Spa, which is in both the application here and in the Moortown Road application. And so I went around and I looked on the internet to see if there were other Eastern Seaboard cities that would have architectural review like we do, that had one of these. And the only Eastern Seaboard city that I could find was Beaufort, South Carolina. And it's not on a main street like this. But it's sited very similarly between 2 restaurants, the Taco Bell next door, as a matter of fact. And it does look very much like their standard boilerplate picture. And it's in business now. So I'll be interested to see what we get as far as the ARB goes, as far as how far back from the street it sits, how the sign looks relative to the setting, and to your point about the alternate sighting to conceal more of it from the street view.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? A motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table PCR number 22-001 to the March 16, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kale?
Aye.
Mr. Tarley?
Aye.
Mr. Boswell?
Aye.
Mr. Granger?
Aye.
Ms. Liebel?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The second public hearing is PCR 22-002.
This is a request from WATA for a special use permit to operate and expand the public transportation and maintenance facility at 7239 Pocahontas Trail. The expansion will include new areas for administrative offices, operations, and maintenance. This special use permit was reviewed and approved as part of a comprehensive plan amendment, a rezoning, and a text amendment process in 2020. The comprehensive plan designation was changed from Colonial Williamsburg Support to public semi-public. The zoning ordinance was amended to add public transportation and maintenance facilities as a use requiring a special use permit in the limited I industrial district. And the zoning designation was changed from museum support MS to limited industrial. Following those approvals, the applicant purchased the property from Colonial Williamsburg and executed the approved subdivision of this parcel. The special use permit expired July 9th, 2021, as the applicant did not have an approved site plan on file. There have been no significant changes since the approval in 2020, and the applicant has been able to develop more detailed conceptual plan in the intervening period. Staff recommends approval of PCR 22-002 for a special use permit to operate and expand the public transportation and maintenance facility at 7239 Pocahontas Trail. Staff is happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is present as well.
Questions? Aaron? Nope. Let's go ahead and open the public forum. Would the applicant like to address the commission? Any questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay. No need. Keep your seat. Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to address the commission about this application is welcome to do so now. And seeing nobody rushing for the podium, I'll close the public forum. Comments?
I think that this is a perfect example of the effectiveness of a special use permit. It fits all the criteria of consideration. The oddity of this particular parcel, if you look at that picture on the front, is the frontage is James City County, and the rear is the city of Williamsburg. Be that as it may, as you can see from that photo, we've designated this as the transportation area and all the support stuff that goes with it. This is an acceptable use for me.
I completely agree.
I remember when this came through in 2020, we were scratching our heads about the jurisdictional boundaries, but I think we're all used to that. We're all used to that by now. If there are no other comments, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve PCR 22-002.
Second.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kale?
Aye.
Mr. Tarley?
Aye.
Mr. Boswell?
Aye.
Mr. Granger?
Aye.
Ms. Liebel?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We don't have site plans or subdivisions today. We have one piece of unfinished business, our annual CIP letter to the city manager. Thank you, staff, for sending out draft of that previously. I think everybody had the opportunity to comment. Are there any other amendments, changes, edits to that? No. Motion to approve.
Yeah, I would move to approve the draft letter to the city manager on the CIP.
Second.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kale?
Aye.
Mr. Tarley?
Aye.
Mr. Boswell?
Aye.
Mr. Granger?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And as sort of an appendage to that CIP letter in which we raised the issue of workforce housing, we were planning a work session for March.
Yes.
Aaron, can you just give us a quick?
That will be, so the work session will be our usual work session date, the fourth Wednesday of the month, from 4 to 6. And that will be located across the hall in, I think it's room 127. Is that right, Heather? Is that the room number? The city manager will be presenting both the findings of the Affordable Housing Work Group. He's also going to loop back in a brief presentation on the neighborhood balance that some of the commission received in December, but some of our new members may not have been privy to. So that information will be presented to the commission at that meeting, and I think the thought is that they'll be able to move forward with some of the findings this spring, possibly.
Great, thank you. Look forward to that. Under informational items, just for the benefit of the newer members, the first item there that's linked in the online agenda is the City Council report, and that typically is an update on what the City Council has done with applications that we have already voted on. So that's a good way to sort of keep track of what's of the progress of these projects. Thank you to staff for adding the commission reports. This is based on a suggestion, excellent suggestion by Mr. Tarley, because members of this commission sit on other boards and committees, and we don't always get sort of reports back, information back about what's going on there, and frequently that's things that are coming down the pike that we'll see later on. Mr. Tarley, update.
Be careful what you ask for. I've attended, this is actually my second EDA meeting, but first as the liaison. And so part of the, there's lots of things going on through the EDA that make us more informed, I think, as commission members and help us with our process. And the things that got discussed at this particular EDA meeting, the EDA awarded the Edge District $10,000 contingent upon the approval of getting that same amount from the EDAs for York County and James City County. And the idea being that they will be sort of a standalone association to market that area of Second Street, Capitol Landing, Page, for new businesses and a more revitalized area. The EDA, there are a number of organizations that I was on the EDA many years ago, right before Michelle DeWitt was appointed, and the amount that the EDA is involved in the city is tremendous. So there's a lot of benefits that we get that then we see some of the things coming here. One of them is the EDA's 2022 Business Appreciation Award. The nomination form will be dropped on March 7th, which you can access online, and has criteria for selecting that, and I think that's something that we should be aware of. And the EDA has a monthly roundtable meeting that's open to everybody, and since the pandemic, most of the meetings have been virtual. And the next meeting is March 15th at noon, and you can find that on the website. And it's going to be Peter McHenry, who is a professor of economics at William & Mary, and will discuss sort of, this is kind of an annual meeting of the EDA roundtable of discussing not only where we've been as a city, but what it looks like, what the trends are financially and through the hospitality industry and some of the other things. So I would commend you to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Liebel?
Yes, so I'm part of the Architectural Review Board, and our activities throughout 2021, of which, and I was a member of the committee throughout that time, were primarily focused on, of course, the regular routine of considering applications. And I know a lot of the city believes, no, not a lot of the city, many applicants believe that we are the committee of no. When you look at the number of applications that we received 118 residential and commercial applications, and of those, 96 were approved either outright or with conditions. Only 7 were denied, and the remainder were withdrawn. So we do approve the vast majority of the applications that come through to us. So a good deal of the time in 2021 in our work sessions, we spent going over and revising the review guidelines. And we came up with kind of a breakthrough way of looking at the architectural review districts, because we have difficulty with people who, especially who want to replace windows. And if you have an existing window that is of a certain type, the guidelines currently say you either must replace them with like material or restore what you've got. And the staff led us to a pathway of really defining how our neighborhood's character is defined. And so we spent a lot of time being very, very careful to describe what is the character of a neighborhood. And by looking at that, you can rather clearly see that some homes and neighborhoods are contributing to that character, and other homes which were built more recently do not contribute to the character of the neighborhood. And that makes it easier to consider alternate materials for replacement in those homes that are non-contributing. And I think will help applicants understand a little bit better why, yes, it's a Sears Roebuck kit house, but it is significant to the character of the neighborhood in which that home sits. And that's why you must replace with the same kind of material that you have. The other thing that we did was start looking at alternate materials that are superior to some of the synthetics that came around in the 80s and the 1980s and 1990s. And so we'll have more latitude to consider alternate materials for replacement and for new construction. One of the most significant things we think we've accomplished is moving the order of things in the guidelines. In the guidelines, new construction was always first, and existing replacement materials were always second. And oftentimes applicants would stop when they got through the new construction material and not realize that that doesn't apply to existing construction. So we've reordered those to help clarify for applicants that if you're talking about replacing something on an existing home, it's here, or an existing structure, it's here. New structures are down here. So how close are we to submitting that to the Planning Commission?
So we essentially have everything in a nearly final draft status. City Council had indicated they wanted to hold a work session with the ARB. And so I think it's just getting that scheduled at this point. I provided kind of a brief synopsis similar to what you just shared with the commission to the city manager for him to share with council, and gave some examples of contributing versus non-contributing properties, just so council members could see what that would look like. And I anticipate that he'll probably share that with council in the next month or so.
Okay, so that's where we are.
Super, thank you. Okay, we have 2 public hearings scheduled for March 16th, and then, as Aaron said, a work session the following Wednesday, also in March, just so nobody's confused. It's not a work session this month, it's a work session next month. Anything else that we need to bring up for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you all.